The Sports Source Saturday Kickoff is brought to you by Hearthside Bank and by Madisonville Marine.
I think this defense has something better in it. Jackson Moy potentially coming back for this game, I think, is a big deal.
So you're going to see situations where tempo's not going to be as smooth, as clean as you want it to be. And we've seen already this season, when you don't have your tempo working at full speed, this offense kind of comes to a mute point.
I think today we've got to be better at setting those edges, right? I brought up Joshua Josephs last week and how he's got to be better.
Rodney Garner mentioned it. I asked him about the comparison between the offenses, the tempos, and he said it's really not that different.
I think they're going to absolutely dog walk, treat them like a jobber in the middle of the ring.
Welcome into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. We are here to get you ready for Tennessee, Mississippi State coming up in about 5 hours from now. About 4:15 is your kickoff. I'm John Pennington, joined by VFL Ollie Lane, joined by John Wilkerson, VFL at heart, and joined by VFL Marlon Walls right over there. I know of no one who loves the Big Orange more than John Wilkerson. This segment of our show as we get going is brought to you by Hearthside Bank. It's called Setting the Stage. Hearthside Bank, of course, they do a great job for East Tennesseans, for Southeastern Kentuckians, and they have for more than 100 years. HearthsideBank.com is where you can learn more about this great banking institution. They really are terrific, terrific people, and we thank Hearthside Bank. Vols are 3-1, coming off a 56-24 win over UAB. They're number 15 in the AP poll. Mississippi State comes in 4-0. It's their best start since 2014. When Dan Mullen was the coach and Dak Prescott was the quarterback down there. They've already knocked off Arizona State in Starkville this year. You might remember that the Sun Devils made a nice little run in the college football playoff last year, and to date, that is Arizona State's only loss. This will be an SEC road game for Tennessee, their first of the year. Yes, they played at a neutral site environment earlier against Syracuse. Going on the road in the SEC, as you know, can be quite difficult. On that front, the injury reports, important. So you're going on the road, but you are getting one guy back, it appears. Everyone assumes it looks like that Jackson Moy is going to play today. I'm always believe it when I see it, but getting Jackson Moy back along the defensive front is a huge advantage for Tennessee, a nice plus. They're still going to be without Devin Hobbs. They're going to be without Rodarius Jackson, it appears. We'll see about David Sanders. He remains questionable. And then you're also, Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson are out. Of course, that's been a concern so far this season. On the injury front, let's just start here with Marlon Walls. There are still a lot of people out there, Vol fans, who don't want to hear about the injuries, who say, hey, next man up, this is just an excuse. I never believed the next man up talk. However, if it was ever going to be believable, it would have been pre-transfer portal. Marlon, it's tough to have depth anywhere, but especially at corner, defensive line, offensive tackle, receiver, and quarterback. Because if you've got a number 2 there, somebody's going to pay him to be the number 1 with them. Your thoughts on the injury situation for Tennessee and just how real it is going into Mississippi State?
It makes a big difference. It's a huge difference. The next man up mentality deal, that's something that coaches have to say. But within the locker room, we kind of know who's on the two depth chart, and it's like, man, I hope he don't mess this thing up.
Right.
So especially now in the NIL world, if your number 2 is halfway serviceable, somebody else is going to pay him to go somewhere else. And so if you're at your number 2 guy, it is a big difference now in this world of college football because there is a huge drop-off again, or else that guy's probably going to leave and then there will be a drop-off. But I would tell you on the road, when you're looking at your number 2s, you're missing guys, especially defensive line depth that we know in this coaching staff. They like to roll a couple guys out. We've seen that already hurt us. We think the defense is not as serviceable as it should be because you're missing those 2 corners. You're missing your defensive line depth. And so I would tell anybody, even when I played, the next man up mentality, it's a coach's term.
It's a mentality, not a reality.
It's not a locker room term. So
getting Moy back if he indeed plays today, that is a step in the right direction. For a team that hasn't been able to generate much pass rush from its front four, maybe getting Moy in there to push the pocket a little bit, at least from the inside, could be a step in the right direction.
Huge step in the right direction. But I will be watching to see how much does Moy play.
There you go.
For being out as long as he have,
about a month.
I'd imagine there's still a misstep there a little bit. So I want to see how much he plays because we have been running those two defensive tackles, Dominique Bailey and Bryson Easton, a ton, and I think it shows. So having him back is a huge deal. I just want to know how much he plays today.
John, Adam Sparks, you're on the road, and there's so many people out there that say Josh Heupel isn't a good road coach. Maybe that's because people remember losses more than they remember wins. And they have had one bad road loss per year that everybody looks at. Adam Sparks of the Sentinel, though, did the numbers and found that in terms of the SEC since 2021 when Heupel came in, only Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and LSU have a better road record than Josh Heupel's 7-9. And 7-9 doesn't sound great, but again, it's the road in the SEC. That's actually fourth best of the schools out there. So my question for you, why do people think that? And then second of all, is it the myth that Adam Sparks tries to present it as and that I believe it is? Do you believe it's a myth that Heupel is a good road coach?
I do think that it's more from frustration than anything because you go with what was the 2022 season and everything that was within reach. And then, of course, that all dissipated quickly in Columbia, South Carolina. Hendon Hooker got hurt. Tennessee got just lambasted and run out of the stadium. And then all of a sudden, when you don't click the next year as much as you did the year before. But where is it? It's away from home that all of a sudden they've come up short. And then now, granted, they'll point to things like, well, the offense doesn't fire as well away from home as it does at home. And it's kind of like, well, find the school that doesn't have that same measurable. So I do think there was just a stretch that went from the end of 2022 through essentially the first half of 2023. I mean, at least 6 of those 9 losses are Tuscaloosa, Gainesville, and Athens. And for that reason, I think that most teams are going to be under 500 in that stretch. But I do think that, sure, it is more difficult when you're away from home. But at the same time, I don't think this is a team that is night and day. It's not like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's a team that just hasn't been able to find a way to win when there's been so much frustration for fans that say, we got to find a way to beat this team, whether it's in Knoxville or away from home.
That's a good tease of something we've got coming up later because I wanted to see. I know that the offense has dropped off. We talked about it on our Sunday Sports Store show last week. So I wanted to see, okay, how much does it drop off compared to other SEC teams? And we will tell you a little bit later in the show. But even if you say the offense isn't quite as good on the road, he's still winning most of these games, more games on the road than most other schools in the SEC. So I'm not freaked out that, oh, well, you're on the road and Heupel can't coach on the road. I don't think that's it. I do think the offense has its issues, but again, we'll talk about that a little bit later with you. We'll let you drive the bus on what changes when you have to go to silent mode. But let me ask you, Deshaun Bishop, talking about noise, talking about the offense. Deshaun Bishop this week had an interesting quote. Those cowbells are definitely something I'm looking forward to. I hear them on TV and it's interesting, so I'm looking forward to hearing them in person. Whenever I hear somebody say, oh, I'm looking forward to hear this, I'm always like, why would you say that? Is that a bad mistake? You're giving, everybody's looking for any kind of bulletin board material. And look, are Mississippi State fans now probably going to be ringing their bells louder at the beginning of the game because of this? Probably, but I don't know how big of a deal that is. In your opinion, statements like that, when somebody on your team says that, are you like, oh, why don't you just keep your mouth shut? Or does it not matter?
Yeah, I'm always the guy that's like, all right, let's not bring more attention to ourselves if we don't need to. I can just hear it now. There's some fan in Starkville, well, I'll ring my cowbell louder than anybody so you can hear it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's just the stuff you're giving them, the fans, ammunition. It's playful banter, builds the game up a little bit, but at the same time, I've always been trained and told, let's just not talk about it. Let's talk about the game and the aspects of the game. But, you like to get the fans involved in your comments every now and then if you can. And it's not like he just went out and called out like, well, those cowbells aren't loud anyway. So at least they're given some respect. They're interesting. They're cool.
Although, as we saw with Tennessee before the Georgia game, there are Mississippi State fans who are going to take that comment and spin it
run with it,
to make everybody. I guarantee you, there are people down there right now. We'll show them with our cowbells. So, all right. When we come back, we got a scouting report on Mississippi State and their head coach, the man who had played a role in getting Josh Heupel up to speed on the veer and shoot offense. Let's talk about that next on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment of our program, it's called the Scouting Report. Well, it's a scouting report of Mississippi State. So let's go across the studio right now to Paige Dower and her crew.
Alrighty, thank you. We're going to turn our attention over here to having Ryan Callahan with Go Vols 24/7 and then Vince Ferrara of 99.1, the sports animal. When we look to this matchup between Mississippi State and Tennessee, I think there's a very underrated factor of what makes it very interesting, and it has to go to the head coaches. Jeff Lebby, Josh Heupel, they've shared some coaching stints together, the Oklahoma team, the UCF team most recently in 2018, and part of what's allowed them to prosper as head coaches is what they've done on offense and the similarities they have with the veer and shoot and how that really leads to explosive plays. We saw that from Mississippi State against Arizona State. They had 5 explosive plays and a couple of them went for 40, 50 plus yards. Yeah. I think that'll be something we'll see a lot in this matchup.
Yeah, you want to go vertical with the deep shots, but your offense really is triggered off of running the football. You know, it's different than the run and shoot where you're just about passing the football. This is still principles, a line of scrimmage, physical run game. I mean, Rodney Gardner mentioned it. You know, I asked him about the comparison between the offenses, the tempos, and he said it's really not that different. And so you got the tempo and the run game, and they have a big physical offensive line. They call it like ginormous or something like that. So a lot of big dudes on there. So there are quite a bit of similarities, even though I think the personnel is definitely different between the two teams.
For sure. And you see that this week when we're talking to the defensive players. They talk about how easy it is going against this offense. You know, basically it's like going against their own offense in a lot of ways. So there's definitely a lot of similarity. And I wonder about the coaching tendencies in a game like this. You know, we kind of looked at this last year when Mississippi State came to Knoxville, but they weren't really prepared to make a run at Tennessee last year, so it didn't show up. Maybe in a game like this, it could be more competitive. Does it matter that Jeff Lebby has been on a headset with Josh Heupel before, kind of knows the way he thinks during a game or in certain situations? Does that come into play more in a game like this? That's interesting given their common history.
I know, I think it might actually come down to the defenses because the offenses can be so electric. And part of what's allowed Mississippi State to be so electric on offense are some of the guys they've been getting out of the portal.
Yeah, Mississippi State has a noticeably more talented team this year. In the 24/7 Sports Team Talent Composite, they're up to number 24 nationally this year.
That's crazy.
In overall talent. Now, I think that can be maybe somewhat misleading because the team talent composite is useful, but it has its limitations in the sense that it goes by high school ratings. So it doesn't necessarily reflect the 3 stars who turn into stars. A guy like Fluff Bothwell that came from South Alabama, now it's their starting running back. So some of those guys I think are maybe not quite as good as those rankings would suggest, but either way, that shows you they're much more on par with a lot of teams in the SEC. They're right behind Missouri, still ahead of Kentucky, so they're ahead of some other SEC teams. So I think that tells you this is a team at least more prepared to compete. Last year, that roster just really wasn't on the same page with Tennessee.
Yeah, and that also takes the whole roster into account as opposed to maybe the 2 deep that you're going to see the most. But I still think their impact players are showing up on that 2 deep. And one of the most, some of their most explosive, dangerous players are guys on that 2 deep that are transfers. And one of them, a third point page, I think in terms of the most explosive player for Mississippi State to watch out for Tennessee is one of those transfers. And that's wide receiver Brendan Thompson. He's third in the FBS in plays over 40 yards. He has 4 40-plus yard plays this year. He killed Arizona State with a couple of them. and really, Arizona State, it kind of seized control of that game. And those big plays were the difference. That's where I think Tennessee could be vulnerable potentially, is with those big plays. Plus, Thompson is involved in the punt return game, the kick return game. He's all over the place. To me, he's the most dangerous player on that Mississippi State team.
I really could say it's the 2 leading wide receivers. I like Brendan Thomas, and I think Anthony Edwards should be in that conversation as well. They're both shy of 300 total yards on the season. They're top in the national rankings in total yardage on the season, and it's because of those playmaking abilities that really was the separating factor against Arizona State. And I think they're going to try to do that against Tennessee secondary, seeing other teams kind of have success in doing that.
That's the big key to me. Tennessee's secondary is still vulnerable without Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson. So those guys are going to have chances to make plays down the field if Tennessee's pass rush can't get home. And we've seen them, be a little bit inconsistent in that area. Tennessee's very good at getting to the quarterback, but maybe not all the time. So you're going to have some chances to throw the ball down the field. it's going to be a lot of pressure on a guy like Ty Redmond going on the road for the first time to play well against a team like this that wants to stretch the field, as we discussed.
And if you can get home with the front four, not only can you help the back end with coverage, but then you can have a guy available if you want to occasionally spy Blake Shapen, who can run. And so he's a dual threat at times as well. So that would help you if you're committing all these bodies. Man, that could leave to the blitz. That could leave a lot of space for Shapen potentially to do some things on the ground.
Blake Shapen, obviously a guy to watch in this game for sure, from my perspective too, because he's a talented guy. Started his career at Baylor. Has really played well this year. 7 touchdowns, I think, so far through the air. Has really taking this offense to a different level compared to last year. And I see this Mississippi State team having a better chance to hang around with Tennessee because it has a reliable passing game and a quarterback who's making good decisions with the ball right now.
29 career starts for him. He's the most experienced player on this team.
Yeah, it makes sense why a couple of games ago Jeff Lebby was really hard on Blake Shapen. It's like, you got to play better than this. You're a redshirt senior. We expect more out of that. But when we come back, we're going to hear a little bit more about how Tennessee has performed on the road in the SEC compared to other conference opponents. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment is called Volunteer Views. Brought to you by VFL, Daniel Hood of Daniel Hood Roofing. Folks, whether it's Knoxville or Nashville or anywhere in between, if you need a free roof inspection, you need a repair, or you need a brand new roof, call VFL Daniel Hood and Daniel Hood Roofing. All right, back with Ollie Lane, back with Marlon Walls right here. Take a look at these numbers, gentlemen, on the screen right now. We pointed out earlier that Josh Heupel's win percentage in SEC road games is better than most. However, he's doing it with an offense that simply isn't as good on the road. From 2022 to 2024, SEC teams saw their average points per game drop by about a touchdown when on the road. Heupel's offense drops 15 points on the road. In terms of yardage, other SEC schools fall off by about 40 yards from home to road. Josh Heupel's offense falls off about 120 yards from home to road. He's winning games, but that offense is not the same. And granted, that takes into account all those FCS games and the crappy games that he blows teams out. But everybody else has those games too.
Yep.
Ollie, explain to people what it is. You've been in this offense. You've been on those days where you're on the road, it gets loud, and your offense doesn't work as well. Why does going silent with this system go sideways so often?
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, is you got to start at the communication aspect. Your communication is going to take a downhill turn when you get into an environment, especially like Mississippi State is going to have tonight with the cowbells and everything. So as you take that into account, I'm going to start up front just because that's where I played, especially in that center position. You got to, get your call from the quarterback. Quarterback's actually having to step to the line now to give you the play call. It's not like they ever teach us to read the signals on the side or anything. So he's having to step up, take more time to give you the play call. And at the end of the day, if your tackles don't hear that play call, well, then they're just kind of out of luck. They're going to have to figure out what's going on from their guard. Hopefully the guard's listening enough. So then you got situations where you got a guard looking out to a tackle, not hearing the center make the call. And then all ties into now you're doing a silent mechanic. So now you've got another guard sitting back there staring at the quarterback, waiting for him to make whatever signal it is. And then your center's also got to make a signal to indicate that, hey, I'm about to snap this thing, we're about to go. And then you snap the football and hope everybody's getting off on the same speed, which it doesn't always happen that way. People see things differently. Their eyes perceive speed at a different rate versus when you just got a clap, everybody knows that's when you're supposed to come off the ball. So, I mean, you start there with your communication aspects. They're going to have struggles and issues just getting things communicated. It happened to me a ton at Florida in 23. When I'm in there playing center, I've got Spraggins yelling in my ear, what's the play, what's the play, when I've already got Joe telling me I need to put my hand on the ball because he's already called it and we're ready to go. Yeah, and so you're going to see situations where tempo's not going to be as smooth, as clean as you want it to be. And we've seen already this season, when you don't have your tempo working at full speed, this offense kind of comes to a mute point.
You've also added motion back into the offense more this year, but the silence kind of forces you. You don't run as much motion. Because once again, now you're talking about guys even further out, hearing snap counts and that kind of thing. So,
so I mean, you're trying to
expect to see as much motion today?
I wouldn't expect to see as much motion until they get comfortable and hopefully silence this crowd tonight. But other than that, you're probably going to see a little limited in their variation just because, one, the quarterback, as always, has to worry about everybody getting set in the line. It's a little bit harder when you got a lot more moving pieces going on and you're on the road and nobody can hear you.
Yeah.
And so luckily now they've got the coach comm and stuff, so it'll be a little bit smoother for him than it has in the past. But it's still issues that continue to arise when you go on road games, especially in the SEC.
We talk about, everybody always says, well, it's crowd noise. You know, what about it? Well, that about it. It's you've been in it. It's a serious issue with this offense. The numbers bear it out. We talked about it in our Tuesday show, The Final Word, which you need to check that out on the Sports Source Digital Network. It's a fun show. But we talked a little bit about that on that show, and I had somebody in a comment section said, you guys are acting like Starkville is Gainesville or Tuscaloosa. And I thought, no, but it's like Columbia, South Carolina, Columbia, Missouri, Fayetteville, Arkansas, all places you've lost on the road. It doesn't have to be the swamp to actually impact the offense. Marlon, let me ask you, everybody right now is feeling very confident for good reason about Joey Aguilar and the way he has come in and lit a fire under this offense. It looks like the old UT offense in terms of the way it moves, the way they pop up points and they get their big plays. But this is his first SEC road test. This isn't going to Atlanta, a neutral site, which is neutral site. There's more UT orange than Syracuse orange.
Exactly.
It's the first road game in the SEC for Joey Aguilar. Does that concern you, or do you feel pretty good about where he is right now and what you think you'll get out of him?
I think all quarterbacks are judged by what they do on the road in a hostile environment, especially in the SEC where the fans are. They get after it a little bit more. Listening to the report, it's a whiteout. It's filled to capacity. They sold this thing out pretty fast. They're excited about this game. Yes, I'm concerned because, again, Atlanta was a neutral site, which for us, Atlanta's a lot closer to Syracuse. We're going to have more people in the stands. This is his first real true road test. And as a quarterback, right, you're supposed to be cool, calm, collected. Well, that's easy to do at home. When you're on the road, sell out, this is the best start they've had in a very long time. They're going to be excited for this thing. Then you talk about that communication. Then you talk about the leadership. You talk about being able to calm the rest of the guys down around you, which we've seen in this offense. We've struggled in. Except, I would say, like Hendon Hooker, but even still, on the road, we struggled. So, I'm worried a little bit. And, again, I kind of said this last week, like I'm worried because this is true first road test. But I think you find out a lot about Joey Aguilar going forward after this game or during this game because I think he will be challenged. When now you're looking at the offensive lineman and he's like, hey, what's the play? And this guy's ready to snap the ball. So now you got to basically redo the entire thing to make sure this guy's on the same page. You talked about it not having that motion, as much motion and shifting as you can because guys not on the same page. The quarterback has to calm the whole offense down. And so it's going to be a lot on this play. It's going to be a lot on this play early. And so, again, I think if he handles this test right, I think there's no more tests. I think now it's just go play football.
I mean, everything we've put in front of him is, well, let's see how he does this. Let's see how he does that. He's aced them all so far. This is another big one. All right, Marlon, Ollie will be back. When we come back, however, let's go inside the numbers. Let's talk about the probabilities in today's game. Will Blake Shapen be able to attack and take advantage of Tennessee's still depleted secondary? Will the teams be running the ball or throwing it up and down? That's next. Come on back on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment of our show is called By the Numbers. We go into all kinds of probabilities about today's game to get you ready for it. Let's go across the studio. Tyler Ivins and his team, take it away.
John, we appreciate it here on the other side of the studio. Let's do a little bit of numbers diving when it comes to the Vols and the Bulldogs later this afternoon. Go Vols 24/7, Ryan Callahan. My co-host on The Animal, that is Will West. And Will, I'm going to have you bat leadoff. Let's talk Tennessee's team total, how well they fared against FBS foes. Against those three, FBS teams are averaging 47.4 points per game. But on the flip side, Mississippi State's defense, they're just allowing 15.7 points per game against FBS foes. So let's talk about it. I want to set the over-under for Tennessee's team total 4 quarters at 31.5 points. What say you?
I'm going to take not just over, but way over in this one, guys. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. I think you could see – I think the over is going to get blown up on this. I think Vegas is way off on that. I think that you're going to see Tennessee in the mid-40s in this game, and they're probably going to have to be to beat Mississippi State handily.
I'm going to take the over too. I'm not quite as convinced that it turns into a full-blown shootout, but I don't see any way. Tennessee's not winning this game probably if they don't top this number. So I think it's safely in the 30s. I'll take the over.
Yep, sweep it. I don't know if I can really add too much on top of this. In fact, I'm going to say until the secondary shows me that they can slow somebody down with a pulse, I'm going to continue to take a look at not only the totals of the game, but the opposition's team total, which we're going to chat about next with Mississippi State's number. I want to flip that. So Mississippi State, you're going to find out this number's even with Tennessee's. Mississippi State is scoring 32 points per game against FBS teams. Now, when you look at UT, they're allowing 31.7. So we'll call it 32 points against FBS opponents. That's an average of 31.7. Both of these teams are the Spider-Man meme. They point at each other. Ryan Callahan, now you get us started. Let's talk about, will the Bulldogs team total go over under the 31.5?
I have a feeling Will and I are going to be on opposite ends of this one. I'm going to take the under. If this is not under, Tennessee's defense is not as good as I think it is even right now. I think we've already had to adjust our expectations of what this team might be based on what we've seen from the defense. They've allowed 17 points to everyone they played. I think this defense has something better in it. Jackson Moy potentially coming back for this game, I think, is a big deal. I think they keep Mississippi State maybe slightly under this total, not by a lot.
Yeah, we're definitely not going to be different whatsoever. No, I absolutely think watching Mississippi State last week against Northern Illinois, that offense struggled, and they had to kind of throw some garbage time stuff just to even make that a 25-point game. I think this is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 27 to 31 points for Mississippi State here. For whatever reason, Josh Heupel seems to be able to figure out Mississippi State and Levy defensively better than maybe Levy and his staff can figure out what Josh Heupel does.
Yeah, I'm going to go over on this number as well. And I know it kind of just goes back to what I said about until you show me, I'm just going to assume that's going to be the result. Blake Shapen, what he's been able to show me, touchdown to interception ratio. And again, I know you're getting Jackson Moy back today, but there are a lot of people who believe that's still not enough. You're going to need more rotational, more depth players if you're actually going to have an impact defensively. I want to talk about game plans because, of course, everybody wants to talk about the quarterbacks in both of these respective offenses, both Joey Aguilar and Blake Shapen. They have both averaged 28.7 pass attempts per games against their FBS opponents. That's an identical average, by the way. So let's go ahead and talk about it, and I'll even get cute and throw the hook in. What say you, Will West? Combined, Shapen and Aguilar, over under 60.5 pass attempts in this game.
I'm going to take way over on this one. I think that Mississippi State's going to be in a Blake Bortles-like position of having to throw the ball a ton in the third and fourth quarter. So Tennessee will throw the ball because that is the strength of this team, is the passing attack. I think that Mississippi State will be forced to throw the ball, and so you're going to see this number get blown up.
I think it's over because I think Tennessee will do a better job defending the run than most teams Mississippi State has played to this point. So they'll have to throw the ball to stay in this game. I think they'll do a decent job of hanging around, but I still think it's a game where Mississippi State has to throw 30-plus times to stay around.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about this before we went live today, boys. I think we're all have a similar idea on what the game plan is going to be for these two opponents. Now, how electric do both offenses get? Clearly, that's where we're off on this, but I think we all at least more than halfway believe we know how this game plays out. Quickly, we'll get to number 4 here. I want to focus on Mississippi State's wide receivers, and why wouldn't we, gentlemen, with just the struggles in the secondary. Both Brennan Thompson and Anthony Evans are averaging 72 yards per game for Mississippi State. So when you combine those two, that's going to set the mark at around the 140, 141 range, but I'll bring it in at 139.5. We know about the struggles. I'll start with you, Ryan Callahan. Over under combined yardage for the top 2 wide receivers for Mississippi State.
Give me the over. I think these guys hit at least a couple of plays in the passing game, and I think it adds up to somewhere probably north of 150 if Mississippi State's going to hang around in this game. So I think the over. I think Tennessee secondary has a slightly better day, but doesn't shut those guys down.
You might as well just had one of me or Ryan because we're agreeing on everything today.
Just hold all the numbers up. Yes,
this is going to be over. I think that Mississippi State's going to have to throw the football. Tennessee secondary is still a problem, and Jeff Lebby is a really smart offensive coach. So they're going to find a way to take advantage of Tennessee's secondary issues. Probably won't be able to score enough points in my mind to win the game.
I don't like going last because then I just have to say cheap things like copy and paste, copy and paste.
So you're on under?
This is copy and paste, copy and paste. What I will say about this game is this. I think that you highlighted it at the start. I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game. Tennessee will be able to keep their distance throughout the entirety of this game, but there's never going to be a time, especially if you have this number hovering around the 7.5, 10.5 range for some people on radio that breakfast might be on the line. It'll be one where a lot of people go back and watch the tape and they go, we got to improve here, we got to improve here. But Tennessee's going to get out with a victory. Ryan, Will, appreciate it as always. Let's talk about the edge. Can Tennessee set that edge, and how much tempo are we actually going to see from the Volunteers today? John, Ollie, as well as Marlon, they're going to break that all down coming up.
Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment of our show is called The Keys to Victory. It's presented by Madisonville Marine. People drive from all over the South to take advantage of their selection of boats and their prices and their customer service. There's no better place to buy a boat than Madisonville Marine, madmarine.com to learn more. Okay, this is kind of a laundry list segment. We just throw it out there, and whoever wants to take it in a direction can.
Gotcha.
Obviously, keys to victory. So what's it going to take for Tennessee to win today? Marlon, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things we've struggled with in these past few weeks, especially the Georgia game, we're soft on the perimeter. We're soft on the edges. For whatever reason, we're struggling setting our edges at the defensive end spot. Looking at Mississippi State and their offense, they're very, very good at running on the edges, and so it plays right into their hands. So something's got to give today. I think today we've got to be better at setting those edges, right? I brought up Joshua Josephs last week and how he's got to be better. Yeah. We've got to hear his name called, not only with sacks or pressures on the quarterback, but also great plays on the outside, right? Making the ball turn back inside where all your pressure's coming from. I think in order for us to win this ball game today, our defensive end's got to do a great job of setting the tone on the edge, keep the ball inside, make them do something they don't want to have to do.
And to underline what you're talking about there, in terms of running to the D gaps, running wide for Mississippi State. This is according to Pro Football Focus. When they run wide left, and they do it a lot, 25 carries wide left, 7.6 yards per rush. That's a lot, but it's not as much as what they do wide right. 28 carries, 9.7 yards per attempt.
That's wild.
That setting the edge.
Yeah,
huge,
you have to.
Huge for Tennessee today. That's stopping their run games, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I got a feeling I know where you're going. It's kind of the opposite.
That's right. I think Tennessee, we have seen Joey Aguilar do such a great job throwing the football, but I also think we've seen a couple of outstanding games for Tennessee running the football, and I think that could be the key. One, it could be as easy as long as you possess the football, they can't. And on the other side of things, I just think that you're growing towards a three-headed monster. You know Star Thomas is dynamic. You know that Deshaun Bishop has that breakaway capability, and we have seen that Peyton Lewis is in that same
Can be
mold.
A bulldozer too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just think that with Tennessee, what it has behind that offensive line, I think that might be the best way to attack State's defense. They've been really good defending the pass. They've got three corners that Pro Football Focus say are top 15 prospects right now in terms of how they performed. So if they're that good against the pass, then I think Tennessee might say, well, we're going to go to it by land.
Well, and we also talked earlier, you did, about Joey Aguilar being in his first SEC road game.
Yep.
You want to help him? Give him a run game.
That's
he can
it.
lean up to where he's not having to carry you. Ollie Lane, where are you going to go?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's very similar to where you guys are at. You got to get Joey comfortable. You got to get him comfortable in the office, and you got to protect him. It's going to be a big task. The offensive line's done a really great job so far, keeping him comfortable in the pocket, letting him operate. But it changes when you're on the road. You got a lot more moving parts, as we've talked about before. The communication gets a little strained. So you got to make sure that you're getting that guy comfortable in position. You don't want an over amount of pressures. Mississippi State's got a good defense. They're going to get after the quarterback. And I'm impressed with how the offensive line has played so far to this point of getting Joey comfortable in situations. But you can see it when Joey does get pressured, there is a bit of a drop-off in his numbers. And so you don't want that to happen, especially on the road, because big situation, you get down on the road, it's a lot harder to come back from than it is at home.
I'll spin off of that one and give you a number that backs that up. You look at Aguilar. He has been blitzed 43% of the time. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, the good news is he's not throwing picks. I went into the season thinking, okay, 24 picks, what's going to happen? He hasn't thrown picks, but his completion percentage when blitzed drops from 74% when he's not blitzed to 57% when he is. And when they get pressure on him, his completion percentage drops to 47. Mm-hmm. Now, let's flip that, and this is my key. I think you got to be able to get to Blake Shapen with your front four. We've talked, again, a lot of this goes back to the defensive line this week, because we've talked all year about the fact that they've got 15 sacks already through 4 games. They only had 29 sacks as a team through 13 games last year. So you're getting to the quarterback. The problem is you're having to do it with blitzes. Yeah. You're having to bring it from the second level. Whereas when you're looking at Blake Shapen, he's only been blitzed 25% of the time, but when he's blitzed, his completion percentage goes up, and none of his 3 picks have come when he was blitzed. I think that this is another one where we're sitting there once again saying, got to get there with your front 4. There's your D-line. There's your Joshua Josephs. And again, maybe getting Jackson Moy back to push that pocket a little bit is also a plus on that front. Any other keys to victory? We've got about 3 minutes here. So
just something that I was going to add on to that, too. When you look at Mississippi State's offensive line, they're bigger human beings. They're bigger bodies, but that also makes them a little stiffer. We've got an athletic group of defensive linemen that are going to be able to move, make different shifts. These guys, these defensive line specifically, they got move 1, move 2, but they also got move 3, move 4 that they can move to in their bags. Gotcha. And so that makes it harder for an offensive line, especially I played overweight, and I couldn't move around with a lot of guys that I played against, and it puts you at a real big disadvantage. So I'm hoping this will be a good breakthrough game for this D-line. You get Moy back, you get these pieces in there, you got to create havoc, and you got to do it consistently. Because like you said, we can get there and get the sacks with the blitz, but if you can get there consistently every single play with your 4, you're going to be in a much better situation.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Just reiterate again, I'm a former defensive lineman. This is the game to have my 4 guys be effective.
Yes.
This guy's good versus the blitz. He's going to be expecting the blitz. Tim Banks' defense, we've got burned a ton in the past when we're bringing those linebackers on blitzes. Now you're leaving the middle of the field wide open with a young secondary at the corner spot. You've got to be able to get there with the defensive line. I think that's a big, big improvement that we can kind of play off of, and that helps us win this football game.
I also want to go right there mentioning the secondary. We all think, I believe, that Ty Redmond's going to be a good player someday. You don't get thrown. I mean, no one normally gets thrown in as a freshman. He wouldn't be if it weren't for injuries. But he's also the guy who's in there. They've got the 2 injuries, and they go to him. He's got talent. It's tough when you are under fire as a freshman in the SEC, especially when somebody has a book on you. And Georgia exposed him. The question now is, what can Tim Banks do? Does he try to protect him a little bit? Because Jeff Lebby's a smart coach. You know where they're going. They're going to try and find ways to isolate him and dial him up. Can you protect him? And when you're rolling the coverage to his side, when you're trying to give him a little help with the safety, are you leaving somebody else on an island out there? So to me, protecting Ty Redmond is a pretty big issue. John, I'll let you close us out. You got any other keys to victory?
Well, I'm anxious to see, again, as we've already talked about, what it is like for Joey Aguilar. He played at Clemson last year, 81,500 fans. Granted, that's not an ACC game. It's not a conference. It's not an SEC game. So it's not like they were full throat. They weren't full throat. But I do think that he's been in much bigger venues. And I just think that he's been, to this point, unflappable. And I think it's been impressive to watch. So I kind of think he'll be okay.
All right, very good. So the keys to victory is just shut up picking on Aguilar. Very good. Well, it's prediction time. So when we come back on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff, you're going to get 9 of them. 9 score predictions for Vols versus Bulldogs. Come on back and we'll see who picks the biggest blowout. And is anybody going to pick a scaredy cat close game? Come on back.
No, this game will not be remembered. It's actually funny. As we were preparing for this week for this game, I realized I made my debut against UAB in 2019, and I don't remember that game. So I'm definitely not going to remember this
your
one.
own debut.
The only time it gets remembered is when we played UAB and we had to beat them in freaking overtime.
Who scored? Was that
Denarius Moore?
And they carried him. Didn't you guys carry him off the field?
I did.
I remember. Yes. I didn't know you guys were on that. And I said that may have been the low point for Tennessee football. It was not losing to Georgia State. It was not losing to Wyoming. It was beating UAB and carrying a guy off the field.
I'm really confident in Lance Hurd. I'm confident in this guy's ability to go play that tackle position, blind spot, protect him. I know.
We're all saying nice things about guys we trashed last year. I'm in. I'm already in. I was saying Sunday, just fire up the Heisman campaign. He may not win it, but give the guy some promotion. he's already, in Daniel's mind, he's already one of the greatest legacy players in Tennessee history.
Hey, I was right. No, you weren't. Not yet. I think this has been the perfect game to get Boo Carter on offense. He's played more on defense. No. And here's the reason why I say that, because they told us that this offseason.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment of our show is called Who Wins and Why? Brought to you by Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville on Callahan Drive. Folks, Jake Bull and his crew will beat any offer on any new Kia from anyone, anywhere. So if you're within the sound of my voice, get yourself to Knoxville and Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive for a brand new Kia at the best price. All right, prediction time. Let's go to the other side of the studio and get everybody to sound off.
Points. I want all of them. Vols 37, Mississippi State 31. I think this is a game where Tennessee fans will be entertained, maybe edge of your seat, more respect put on Mississippi State's name, but you'll leave Starkville going back, looking at the tape during an open date going, improvement, but we still need to tighten some things.
48-30. Tennessee's going to go tempo most of this game. I think Tennessee has learned their lesson. I think they're going to absolutely dog walk, treat them like a jobber in the middle of the ring. Mississippi State in this game. They're going to, look, Heupel figures out Levy a lot better than Levy figures out Heupel. Tennessee has better players. I question the offensive line for Mississippi State. I wonder if Tennessee can get there with 4, and maybe Mississippi State doesn't even score 30 at that point, but high-scoring game. Tennessee's just able to outscore Mississippi State because they have better players.
I'll take Tennessee in this matchup with Mississippi State. 35-21, probably the final. I think this is really where, maybe if we go to the soft skills, this is where we see Joey Aguilar's composure really end up being the difference maker, where his accountability really matters and his leadership really, truly matters. First true road game. Everyone's talking about the unique environment of the cowbells, so they'll need that, the composure, they'll need that communication for anything else to happen, and I think it all goes through Joey.
I'm going to take Tennessee 38-23. I think it'll be a fairly competitive game, tough game on the road, going on the road for the first time this year. I just don't think Mississippi State quite has the horses to hang for 4 quarters. So Tennessee wins, but it maybe has to fight a little more than last year for sure.
Yeah, very similar. I'm going with Tennessee to win, 38-24. I do think Mississippi State's going to have a tough time stopping Tennessee, but I also think that Mississippi State's going to be able to score and rack up some yards on Tennessee's defense because of those injuries on defense. Should be a little bit more improved, but level up in competition.
Thanks to all the folks who gave us their predictions. Let's start with our predictions. John Wilkerson, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. What do you got?
I'm going to go with Tennessee, 34-23. And I think last year that there was a little bit of the unexpected in the terms of that was it took a little while longer for Tennessee to separate from Mississippi State because I do think that the Vols kind of took them for granted. It was a winless team in conference play, and so I don't think they gave them the due respect. I think them going on the road, I think Tennessee's up to the challenge, and so I think they'll do everything they can not to be Jeff Levy's first conference win.
Plus, it's a whiteout.
Yeah.
So you got to take it
all orange.
Yeah, that's right. You got to take it seriously. All right, Ollie Lane, what are you doing?
Well, I'm going with Tennessee. I think they got the strong one in this one. I'm going 42-31. I think Tennessee handles this one pretty well. I think it's a little close coming out of the gate. Tennessee has had a great job of getting a fast start. So I think you get to a fast start in this one. You silence the cowbells. I think you're going to see some good success with this offense.
All right. Marlon Walls.
All right, I'm going Tennessee 38-30. I think it's going to be a challenge in the beginning. I think we start to overcome those challenges. We lean on the run game. Joey Aguilar gets his confidence. Defense plays well enough to us make a couple key stops. We take them 38-30.
Okay. That is the closest pick. Well, actually, Tyler Evans had 37-31. So we got a 6-pointer. We got an 8-pointer. I say it's coming down to Max Gilbert. I'm taking Tennessee 31-28. I think that Tennessee has more talent. I just know that the offense, as we've talked about, has some issues on the road. I think you're going into a very hostile environment. Mississippi State, I just wonder, it could be an advantage either way. Heupel knows Levy, Levy knows Heupel, but if you're the underdog, I'm looking at that as more of an evening factor. So to me, I'm going 31-28 Tennessee. I could absolutely see it the way you guys do with Tennessee winning it bigger, but I'm just spooked by the road. I don't think he's a bad road coach. I just know how tough it is on the road for everybody in this league. So 31-28 is my prediction. We got about a minute here. In terms of that crowd and the whiteout and all that stuff, how much does that really help? We talked about it when Tennessee did the checker Neyland. Well, I think they're now 4-5 when they checker Neyland. Mm-hmm. Does that matter after the first minute and a half of action, unless Mississippi State's playing well, all that other crap doesn't matter, does it?
To a point, no, because, you saw it in the Georgia game that we played in. It felt like the crowd kind of got really quiet that second and third quarter. Yeah, it's still checkered Neyland. That stuff plays an effect. I think it builds more in the buildup of the game than it does play an actual part in the actual game happening. Now, you'll get people more riled up, I guess, because they feel like they're in it, they're in the tradition and all that stuff. But in the long run, it's just still fans can only yell as loud as they can yell. It's not like a different colored shirt is going to change that.
Very good. All right. Ollie Lane, Marlon Walsh, John Wilkerson, thanks to everybody for being here today. Thanks to you for watching. Catch us tomorrow on the Sports Source. We've been doing it 23 years, 90-minute post-game. That's on WATE 6 at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can also find it on the Sports Source Digital Network by 3 p.m. Central Time. We'll post it there, and you can check it out. That is the Sports Source. Don't miss the final word. That will come up Tuesday on the Sports Source Digital Network, and we'll see you right back here next Saturday for the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff.